Hello and welcome to the channel. This video is about how I prepare my baked bean dish called Prospect Hill Baked Beans. Prospect Hill Baked Beans named after the campsite that our troop in the Boy Scouts camps at our summer camp every year. And last year I made this dish for our parents' evening on Wednesday evening when the parents come up to see what the boys are doing at camp, and it was a huge success. And I've been playing with it since then, and I wanted to share with you how I do it in a crock pot, because it's winter time and it's a little bit difficult to cook with a Dutch oven that's designed for cooking over coals outside at this time of year. This is a recipe that was inspired by a recipe for Cowboy baked beans by the famous Cowboy Rollins, and he has a very nice YouTube channel that I look at often for ideas and for entertainment, because he's also a wonderful storyteller as he's showing you how he prepares his dishes in cast iron in the great outdoors. And I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the description below. But in the meantime, this is a video that I just made today, and it was time to prepare another batch. And I hope you enjoy it. And if you do like the video, don't forget to click the like icon, the thumbs up icon, and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy. My recipe for Prospect Hill's baked beans calls for 2 large cans of pork and beans, Van Camp's or Campbell's or whatever other brand. I've had good luck with both of those brands. And light red kidney beans, 2 regular cans, and 3 regular cans of large butter beans, along with 2 tubes or bottles of brown mustard, 2 normal sized bottles of, I use hickory flavored barbecue sauce, a whole box of dark brown sugar, about a whole diced, regular sized diced white or yellow onion. I buy them out of the produce, the vegetable cooler. If you want real fresh, you can chop your own. And about 3 tablespoons of, maybe more, I'll try a little bit more this time, of some ground mustard. And you could probably already hear the meat portion of this getting ready. This is 10-inch cast iron skillet, so it's got about 3/4 of a pound of bacon sliced into 1-inch long pieces. You can fry your bacon just as regular slices, and then you can crumble it up yourself, but we're going to brown this. We're not going to make it real crispy, so you want to be able to put it into the mix later on in pieces. So I slice it up beforehand because it's not going to be that crispy. And then the other portion is about a pound. It's very difficult to find a single pound in the freezer section. So this is 1 pound and 3/10, so it'll be a little bit meaty, of regular 80% ground beef. And now I've added the rest of the full pound of cut up bacon, and it's on a low heat. These cast iron skillets heat up quickly, and you don't need a lot of heat under them, or you'll get your bacon sticking to the pan, even though the skillet is well seasoned. The setting is just above simmer on the gas range here. While the bacon is browning, got the cans open. Now we're going to drain these beans before we put them in. We'll put the pork and beans in first. Come on, get out of there. There we go. Alright. So let them drain good. Shake it a little bit to get it started. Let them drain for a couple of minutes. Alright, well, we've drained these beans for about 3 or 4 minutes, so we're going to dump these into a large mixing bowl here. You can mix these directly in the vessel that you're going to cook in. I find it's a little bit less messy in the kitchen. Out in the field, camping, when you do these in cast iron in a Dutch oven, which I've done with the Boy Scout troop, it makes more sense to mix it right in the Dutch oven. But here in the kitchen, we're going to mix these together. So we'll dump the baked beans in there, and next we'll take the butter beans and we'll drain the butter beans. Cut the top all the way off of this one. Wasn't paying attention. Okay, we'll come back over here to Grandma's skillet, and this was my grandma's skillet. It's a wonderful old 8-inch cast iron skillet that's stood the test of time. It's probably been around since at least the 1920s, maybe earlier. My grandmother set up housekeeping, as she liked to call it, getting married in 1912. It might date back as far as that. But there's I'd give you an idea of how brown. I let them get a little bit browner than they needed to be, but because I mixed in some pieces of bacon later, after I'd already started the first batch, some are a little bit crispy and some are just browned and ready to go. So we're going to take these out of the skillet and put them on let them drain out on a piece of paper towel, and we'll come back. So the bacon is draining on the paper towel on top of the plate. We got the bacon grease still in there, and I like to keep the bacon grease in there to brown the ground beef in the bacon grease. There's an old saying about guns and ammo. You can never have too much ammunition unless you're on fire or you're swimming. And that probably goes the same for bacon. So we're going to put some, it definitely goes the same for bacon, so especially in our Boy Scout troop. So we're going to go ahead and brown this meat in the bacon grease just to make sure we got enough of pork flavor, but the ground beef will give it a little bit of a different flavor to it. See? Still on the very low heat. In fact, I had the heat turned off to let the bacon stop simmering before I took it off the skillet, or out of the skillet. So it's just now coming back up on simmer. And we'll just let this get started. And I'm just hand crumbling it to make it a little bit easier to get it crumbled up, because you're going to want this to be crumbled into fairly small pieces to mix into the beans and the bacon and everything else that's going in together. So we'll just let that get started, and then we'll come back and take the next step. Okay, we've got everything drained and in the bean department, and we're mixing them together in a large stainless steel bowl. Mix these up real good. Okay. Now let's start adding the extra ingredients here. Just blop that whole thing of barbecue sauce in there, first one anyway. Alright, now that's good, wasting time. The aroma coming off of that barbecue sauce choked me up a little bit, breathing with my mouth open again. I gotta watch that. Okay, could lead to some unsanitary conditions. Alrighty. Okay. Now I'm going to mix up all the liquid ingredients, the wet ingredients that is, in the mixing bowl before I dump it into the crock pot. But we'll put the brown sugar and the onions in there as we add the meat. Now comes the mustard. All right. You can imagine out in the campground, this is a fun project for boys to do because it can get messy if you're not careful. This is one of the few ways Boy Scouts can get messy without rolling in the mud. Okay, now I've transferred the bean mix ingredients into the 6-quart crock pot. And we'll start off by dumping the drained ground beef into there. Just to put that all in there. And we'll stir that in. Now we'll take the bacon and we'll put the bacon in there. This is a real comfort dish on a cold, wet morning when you're selling Christmas trees down at the municipal park. That's our big annual Boy Scout fundraiser. Helps to pay the Helps to pay the boys' way to summer camp. Now I've turned the heat on already on this crock pot because there's no sense wasting time. And everything's in there, so it's not going to burn anything. This crock pot is an old model from 1984. It was a wedding present, and we hadn't used it at all until I got into cast iron cooking and started discovering these recipes, and we decided to make this for a church lunch. But it was the middle of December and it was raining outside, and who wants to cook on charcoal in a Dutch oven? And our Dutch ovens are designed for cooking over charcoal. They have feet on them, so they don't do very well in a conventional oven. So I got the crock pot out. It was the first time this thing had seen the light of day since 1984. Okay, we're going to start adding the brown sugar now, and we're not going to put this all in at once. We're going to put I put a little bit more than I wanted to. I wanted to put about 1/3 in there because this stuff needs liquid, you know, to dissolve. So it's going to break down as the temperature heats up. But getting this all mixed together, I want to make sure that I don't have any big clumps. See how when you start adding the extra ingredients, how the crock pot starts to fill up on you. You got to be careful you don't overdo it. And this is my more or less set recipe, but I will play around with it from time to time just to add. For example, the brown mustard is something that Cowboy Rollins in his recipe uses yellow mustard. I prefer the taste of the brown mustard. It has those extra little spices in it. But to each his own. Okay, while we're at it, we'll add a couple of palmfuls, 3 palmfuls of, actually I think 4. Why not? 4 things of powdered mustard or ground mustard. And folks, make sure you wash your hands before you start to cook. That's a standard disclaimer. I don't want to get banned from YouTube and Facebook for promoting unsanitary cooking. Okay, and finally, the onions. Or I should say the onion. The poor old onion that got diced up. I can feel the heat coming off of this thing already. Alright. Well, folks, before this thing gets completely too hot or to mess with, and except stirring, and I put the lid on and let it sit, I decided after a taste test, a little spoon taste test, to add another half a bottle of the brown mustard. So 1½ bottles of brown mustard have gone into this mix. Alrighty, okay, we're going to get everybody inside, get us a fresh paper towel, and we're going to wipe around the rim here to make sure that we don't create a glue that makes it difficult to get that lid off every once in a while. You don't want to take the lid off too often because it's just like with cooking with a Dutch oven outside. Every time you take the lid off, you let heat out, and that slows down the process. Okay, and there we go. Prospect Hill baked beans, version 3.0. And we're going to let this go for about 4 hours. It takes about 4 hours for this cooking to take place in a slow cooker crock pot. So we'll come back in 4 hours and we'll see what we got. Okay, it's 4 hours since we started the cooking, and it's all nice and warm. And you can see here that it's about the same as it looked. You can't tell how hot it is. It's nice and warm. Nice and warm. Now this crock pot has what's called auto shift, so it automatically shifts between high and low temperature. If you're using a crock pot that doesn't have that kind of a function, you'll have to watch it. But it regulates the temperature pretty well, and I think more modern crock pots probably have that same capability. So 4 hours on shifting between high and low, and stirring about every 30 minutes. Now for the taste test. Mmm. Mmm. That mustard taste really adds to the flavor. I think I've got a winner here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you like to. It doesn't cost anything and we'd really appreciate it.